Good afternoon, beloveds. My hair looks different because I had it up in a bun. I went to the dentist and just, so the dentist didn't have to worry about pulling my hair. I put it up in a scrunchie and a knot and then just left it. And I was like, I was going to come do this and I was like, I don't like the way that looks. So I took it down, which is why it looks the way it does now. All right. And Dante just got out of the room. So, okay. So we are doing High Mysticism by EMMA CURTIS HOPKINS. We are going to do chapter 4 today. Whew. Sorry, don't know where the yawn came from. I will just really quickly run through the housekeeping. And all the housekeeping is me reminding you that we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. The website is creativelife.org. The constant contact email info@creativelife.org. And that gets you one email a week, tells you what's going on for the week and the month, and the hot links are hot. And then the social medias, we are Creative Life Spiritual Center or Creative Life Spark, and I'm running Ryan across the social medias that I am on. In a free and easy way that you can support centers, go engage with our social media. Like, subscribe, follow based on which platform you're on with the pages, and then engage with the individual posts by reacting, commenting, and sharing. Now, I am reading this book for no other reason than I want to. I read Christian Science Mental Practice when Jesse was doing the book on the class. I did the Emerson essays. I did 5 of the Emerson essays because he is teaching a class in January, and I know people don't have a whole lot of time, and I thought it would be an easy way that, I would read the article I would read the essay to you. And I enjoy doing this so much, and I get so much out of these readings by doing them live that I thought, okay, well, what's another book that there may not be an Audible copy of that I think should be out there? Well, EMMA CURTIS HOPKINS is really, they call her the teacher of teachers for a reason. She is the one who teaches. She taught a lot of the founders. She taught the founder of Unity. She taught the founder of Divine Science. She taught the founder of Science of Mind, and she continues to teach us now, and then we turn around and teach others. So I think it's really important. And I think High Mysticism is the book that, she had written her lessons, and this is kind of like a summary, and it's hard. There's also rumors that somebody may do either a book study or, tackle this book later. And it turns out that I'd never read it. So this is a way for me to read more of her work. And it's a good thing to do for an hour on a Saturday afternoon when I don't have much else to do, because Saturdays are my day off. They are my day to do what I want to do. So here we are. All right, so let's get into this. High Mysticism. We are going to do chapter 4, which is faith. And then she has a little bit of a kind of an intro, so let's do that. EMMA CURTIS HOPKINS, High Mysticism, chapter 4, faith. This 4th study has treatment quality for all who read it, even though they may not have heard its subject matter discussed orally. Practicing its lordly formulas wakes victorious energies. Every number held profound significance to the ancients. Number 4 held the fire of convincing energy. It was the Uriel, angel of divine telepathy. Beresford, the English writer, declared that he caught belief in survival after death from the mass faith at a meeting of spiritualists. He did not report that the sparkling up of the faith center in humanity is the waking of his hidden miracle working genius, the great outfiguring of the number 4 to Pythagoras, sign of the fertile square according to the Kabbalah, the touch of the 4th dimensional strength, the change from Moses's meat to Osiris bold, according to the Egyptian Hermetics. That was Egyptian, I think. Osarissiph. Never heard the word before. The fourth stone, symbolic of character, according to St. John of the Revelation, is emerald. It was once called smaragdos and held radiations for sharpening the memory, even to the recalling of our heavenly beginnings, making us mindful of that country whence we came out, as Paul wrote to the Hebrews, assuring them of it as a country to which we all may return, not in entire forgetfulness, but trailing clouds of glory do we come, from God who is our home. Everything about four was fourth dimensional to the wise men of old. Notice them telling how humanity is comraded by angels from the city of God when they find themselves touching the fourth side of the city that lieth foursquare. Things have never satisfied their seat of sacred starvation, nor yet noble thoughts, high statements, even the highest, nor practice of ectoplasm and its astral shadows of departed friends. Only by laying hold of the high adequate has humanity laid hold of that which satisfies their heart's desire. Notice the wise men telling of Jacob by the Jabbok brook, sensing the angel of God, who called itself God, changing him from Jacob the frightened to Israel the fearless, and causing him to found a dynasty of kings, ending in earth's final king, the Nazarene Jesus. Okay. Now she just went through a whole lot of the Bible really quickly there. From Jacob falling asleep with a rock as his pillow to the final earthly king of Jesus. Now, do I believe that Jesus was the final earthly king? I don't know. But I do know that when you look at 4, the number 4, it is a stable number. It is a material number. It is like, if 3 is the number of creation and chaos, then 4 is the number of stability and the 4 walls, because you need 4 walls to build a stable house. So 4 is a stable number. It makes sense that they're choosing this to be the number of faith. Interesting. The phoenix bird, which fell into helpless ashes and rose into winged majesty, was once the symbol of humanity's helplessness in the face of death, rising into daring renewal above death by the sacred touch of heaven's Uriel. Fire on his yearning heart's despair. Not only did the phoenix signify survival after death, but revival out of death, even as the king of Judah rose, while yet Isaiah the mighty was laying the ban of death upon him. As the mariner on the sea steers his ship's course by a needle which points to a magnetic north, not to the north of polar bears and icebergs, so humanity is truly steering their hopes by an inner needle pointing to a country unseen, from whence in times of danger or despair miraculous succor may swing towards them. Something within us innately hopes great things from the self-existent kingdom to which King David turned, crying, "Mine eyes are ever towards the Lord, for it shall pluck my feet out of the net." To which the sages of Indian gazes and is touched with long life, because the kingdom is ageless. David was rewarded for his bold insistence, his persistent high watch. High watch is one of Emma's things, okay? "We went through fire and through water, but thou broughtest us out into a wealthy place," he cried. It was the business of the Levitical singers in David's time and in Solomon's to sing the ways of the kingdom unseen in its miraculous workings with this visible world and its people. "Thou shalt ride prosperously because of meekness," they chanted to the high-pitched, rich-toned sackbut of many strings. Now, sackbut is an instrument, just so you know, and I want to remind you that meekness does not mean weakness. Meekness means teachable, okay? If you are meek, then you are teachable. And you know what I mean by that, because people who are not teachable, well, yeah. Okay. David had been meek, even to sorrowing daily in his heart before the Lord of his hope, who seemed sometimes to hide its face from him. Therefore was the promise fulfilled upon him, "Thou shalt ride prosperously because of meekness. I will sing unto the Lord because he hath dealt bountifully with me," he triumphantly proclaimed. There is a mystery about meekness, gentle receptivity, even when the merchants of Rome and Athens knew, as before the Christian era, they bowed their heads before unseen Mercury, the god of magisterial, to poverty. And as Hesiod the Greek taught, bowing his head to angels, that they might sprinkle him with wisdom, glory, or with gold, not according to his human will, but according to their own heavenly directals. Sometimes we read that those astral pictures, which Homer called shades, may meekly be yielded unto. But truly, if there is presence of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, with givings and workings supernal, ready to let fall upon our human lot, why choose shades of the dead? Hast thou faith? Have it to thyself before God. Had better be our starry choice on this our plane of Esdraelon. And so shall it give its angels mysterious ministerings on our behalf. The Levitical singers of David's time and of Solomon's time sang that the daughter of Zion should be Uriel fired with kingship. Daughter was the Levitical singer's figurative word for the most meek among the people. Was not the daughter of the old Hebrew house the most meek member of the family? Was she not handed over to her husband as docile and adoring, as seeing in him her lord, her governor, her friend? Oh, I'm really grateful she put her friend at the end. Ugh. Okay. Was it not recorded that her confidence in his greatness caused him to be known in the gates when he did sit among the elders of the land? As lighted candles light candle, as lighted candle lights candle, so conviction fires conviction. Elisha was lowly in his convictions of Elijah's godlike greatness as the head of the schools of the prophets of Jehovah in Gilgal and Jericho. So Elijah, showing forth that godly majesty, touched Elisha's meekly receptive being with conviction of competence, and he rose up head of the schools of the prophets of Jehovah in Gilgal and Jericho. Long before the time of Elijah and Elisha, it had been taught in mystic language that we rise up with that authority before which we have been meek. Ooh. We rise up with that authority before which we have been meek. Interesting. Was not Isaiah meek before the Lord of hosts till the Lord of hosts told him to command the Lord of hosts as an obedient servitor? Was not Jeremiah meek before the ruler in the heavens and the earth till the ruler in the heavens and the earth told him to show himself ruler over the nations and over the kingdoms? Did not Jesus mean have the rulership of God itself when he told his disciples to have the faith of God? For is not faith rulership? Is not faith kingship or confidence to command? Is not kingship always associated with confidence and command? If ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. Peter, found by his own obedience to the bright angel who smote him on the side, saying, arise quickly, gird yourself, and bind on thy sandals. Cast thy garments about thee, and follow me. That the bright angel was obedient to him, opening the barred gates and loosing the chains of the 4 quaternions of soldiers to whom he was bound. It is no wonder that Peter wrote it down for an eternal verity that angels, authorities, and powers are subject to the hidden person of the heart, the waiting authority principle lingering in the being of every man, woman, and child on earth, every person on earth. The mystery of obedience to authority is surely rising as authority is every instant manifest. Do we not have to obey the authority of the doorknob before it works for us? Or have to obey the rigid law of our feet before they do what we wish of them? So the mighty King we call God gives orders to which we must yield obedience before its sublime service in our behalf is sublimely manifest. The Lord lifteth up the meek, the gently receptive to burning God conviction, which is confidence to command, which is kingship, ever waiting to find its meek, sparkling tender within us. Was it not wonderful of the gentle Japanese to discover that if one had faith, which is confidence to command, no longer than the point of a needle, he could say to a dead sardine's head, walk me over the water, and it would obey? Was it not astonishing that Count Paisugar of Byzancy could rouse up confidence to command a strong tree to heal all who touched it, and it meekly did his bidding? Was it not mystic inspiration to Maxwell the Scotch metaphysician to find that he could rouse confidence to compel the secret spirit of the universe to do blessed healing ministries for him? Maxwell did not know that he was practicing inborn native kingship by such bold commanding. Neither did the Japanese, nor yet the hundreds of daring new missioners who go about the world saying to the lame, walk, and they walk, or saying to the deaf, hear, and they hear. But none of them can tell us, like the Hebrew prophets and the masterful Nazarene, the practice that rouses the living dominance called by Peter the hidden man of the heart, our secret Jehovah, the sissy, Jehovah my banner. The prophets and Jesus teach us that being insistent and firm with the waiting adequate, we shall find the waiting adequate most willing and competent. Is anything too hard for me, he saith? Hast thou faith? have it to thyself before God. Lo, I am with you always, for the Lord shall be thy confidence, and shall keep thy foot from being taken. Concerning the work of my hands, command ye me. Note how universal God majesty awaits the rise of humanity, majesty universal. Joseph, in the prison house of Pharaoh of Egypt, was meek to the fulfillment of the prophecy that he should save the Jews from starvation. He stopped his own thinking before the unseen knower to strike the hour for divine wisdom to touch his brains with words not known on all the earth. So great Pharaoh set him over all the provinces of the realm and gave him the handling of all the gold and silver of the realm. And today every Jew on earth owes their life to meek Joseph, rising to kingly authority by reason of being touched with sprinklings of gray matter from above, till his speech did distill as the dew. Napoleon was also an example of letting his own thoughts stop for the thoughts of those higher in authority to sift on his brain. Catching their dominance, he proudly said, "The only difference between me and other men is that I have confidence to command." It was not till he began to study the science of battles that he lost victorious confidence caught from victorious confidence. We find, on looking over the people on this earth who have been baptized with originality, that they must have let the world's thinkings alone, and even for no telling how long have stopped, perhaps unwittingly, their own thinking also. And so creative new knowledge have been free to touch them. Here we come upon the magic wisdom of Jesus of Nazareth. Take no thought. In such an hour as ye think not. We have read how some clergy people admit catching their thoughts from the thoughts of their congregations, so they are not original in their instructions. The world now needs fresh news from the universal wisdom. Who can stop studying Latin enolites and ages-old vivisections long enough to bear their meekness to new distillations from divine beneficence? Sparkling gray matter drops charged with healings from on high. Has any heavenly distilling reached humanity from the Sultan Amurath's striking off 100 Persian heads that his physician Vesalius might watch the spasms in the muscles of the human neck? But note that the voice of inspiration declares to Amurath and Vesalius, he that taketh the sword must perish by the sword. He that leadeth into captivity must be led captive. High faith is confidence to command the working executive, standing up in the universe to the point of hearing as good response as Jacob, forbearer of royal Jesus, heard. As a prince hath thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. Or as John of the Christian Apocalypse heard, and there shall be no more curse, karma, consequence of past actions or thought. Jesus discussed the mystery of forgiveness. He proved the mystery of bold use of the working executive facing us through all things, ever saying, as Iamblichus discovered, boldly tell me what to do and when to act. When shall the fig tree, symbol of all flourishing, fruit for the one who discovers their own bold authority? Never. When shall the fever desist for such a one? Now. To what was Joshua speaking when he stopped the sun and moon in the midst of the heavens? To the Lord facing him, as we read in the book of Joshua, 10th chapter. To what are the little children of India speaking when the sticks and stones to which they are playing do actually move here and there at their orders? To the same Lord facing them that faced Joshua the daring, I am captain. Why did not Bjerregaard go on with his discovery that the earth is creating and destroying because it knows no better, and boldly tell it better, as the Jewish Bible with its vigorous miracles offered him precedence? Prosper thou me, commanded King David. Prosperity is of thee, the silver and gold are thine, riches and honor come of thee. Such truthful recognitions caused the plenitudinous of gold and silver to come to them, exactly as such truthful recognition should now cause plenitudinous to come to any one of earth's multitudinous children of the highest. By this fourth lesson, with its grand offerings, we see that deity is no disciplinarian, giving us hardships and refinements of depriving, but by bold insistence, like the glorify thou me of Jesus, the prosper thou me of David, and the answer thou me of Job, the stand thou still of Joshua. Come boldly up, said Paul. Why not come boldly up if boldness hath genius, power, and magic in it? This one everywhere and through everything facing us is no hound of heaven, hounding us to starvation, cold, and death. Neither are we his hound dogs beaten into submission to his ceaseless disciplines. Let us take right view of him. Ask what ye will, he saith. What wilt thou, he asketh. Concerning the work of my hands command ye me. He urges, is anything too hard for me? I will work, and none shall hinder. When the Belgian writer tells us to be frank with God, When the Belgian writer tells us to be frank with the God presence and tell it we are dissatisfied with our lot, the Belgian writer does not seem to know such assurances that multiply our dissatisfactions because they pick up the formulating substance, charging the ethers, and embody according to their recognitions. Tell him to speak boldly, looking into the face of the answering substance. Deliver thou me from evil. Give me this day my supersubstantial bread. Give me courage, confidence to insist. Bless me with life, wisdom, divine efficacy. Tell him this recognition picks up the formulating substance and translates it into the mystic's fulfilled assurance. So shall thy life renew, so shall inspiration teach thee, so shall thy affairs go newly right with thee. We light our inner vision by exalting it. Lightened vision wakes all our faculties to sense the supernal good willing surrounding us, forever wooing our positive. Give me for my weakness strength to command thee. Some things will never square right with humanity until they take deity at their word. Command ye me. Stop talking about God and its idea, human, and speak into majestic deity face to face. So shall majestic humanity arise, victoriously daring. Now, for some reason, there's a B right here in the middle of the page. I have no idea why. Maybe we are changing subjects. I don't know. I just thought I would bring it to your attention that there is a B in the middle of the page here. So, moving on. As Adam and Eve were not only individuals but perceptions, so are the angels of the apocalypse, not only winged messengers, but high perceptions in their activities. The Egyptian Magi changed the name of the neophyte at the fourth perception, because at this, their nature changed. From being a meek listener, they became a bold speaker. From being a timid follower, they became a daring leader. The fourth angel smites one side of the sun, and on that side it is dark. So did the same angel smite Jacob, and one side of him was withered, not for use, but for super use. So did this mighty angel smite Peter in the prison, and the smitten side of him, being now supernal perception and not common intelligence, even as angels of the free adequate opened the bolted prison doors and undid the chains and manacles that human animosity had welded. The Roman soldiers guarding him for quaternons strong were smitten, and the miracle proceeded onward uninterrupted. The fourth perception, setting aside the common law, exposes the unmanageable fourth dimension in space, which makes locks and bars and lion's teeth and adverse criticisms of no account. Jacob the stricken, was searching for help with his watch towards heaven, when suddenly he sensed the fourth dimension, and life for him became a track of victorious light to lighten all generations after him. Jacob sensed the presence of the angel of the miracle, the angel of the helping, and wrestled with the angel, enduring as seeing the invisible, and his name was changed to Israel. He was no longer Jacob the cringeling, but Israel, the prince whom God itself served. To any daring wrestler with the ever-present angel of the miracle, any person may hear that angel servant responding, "Concerning the work of my hands command ye me. As a prince thou hast power with God." At the fourth perception, David found the same servant. "Bow down thine ear to me, deliver me speedily," he cried. "Thy gentleness hath made me great," was his astonished acknowledgment. At his fourth perception, Isaiah implored all humanity to practice the formula of the fourth dimension, whether they themselves had been entranced by the fourth angel's smiting or not. "Thus saith the Lord, ask me of things to come, and concerning the works of my hands command ye me." Jesus, the Redeemer, gave the formula of the fourth verbatim. It is the speech of the fundamental knower risen up out of the waters of humility. It is the speech of the hidden person of the heart, without age and of no nationality. It is the genius of Massanini at 70, singing Gounod's Sanctus to an enthralled congregation. It is the genius of Elman at the 17, drawing a magic bow across a magic instrument to enraptured throngs. How thirstily the people put their lips to the troughs when living waters flow. What hearts of love they lean close to fire celestial. All the world travails for the fourth angel's birthmark, the parting of its common mind for its uncircumscribed genius to act. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments of Basra? I that speak in righteousness mighty to save, I that have dyed my language in the word of the high supernal, I that have dipped my will in the heavenly trent, I, smitten by the angel of the miracle and its delivering might. Arise up quickly, the angel says. Now am I as Jacob, not for visible, but mystical usefulness. Now am I as Peter, free. Spirit. A principle is a comprehensive law or doctrine from which others are derived. That is, obedience is vested in the supreme I am, or there could be no obedience in the dog or horse. Authority is resident in the King of Kings, or the General-in-Chief of the army could not command with success. When Iamblichus of Chalcis found that the weather obeyed him, and eagles flew hither and yon at his insistence, he supposed that there must be an order of obedient invisible powers in the universe altogether at the bidding of humanity. By reason of triumphs which certain men of old achieved after speaking of with commanding determination, to their invisible gods they sang, cease your fretful prayers, your whinings, and your tame petitions. The gods love courage armed with confidence, and prayers fit to pull them down. Weak tears they sit and smile at. Something concerning the mystery of humanity's inborn authority has ever been the fourth theme of such to have consciously or unwittingly obeyed the supreme edict, look unto me. By snatches of what Luke the Apostle called sunrisings from on high, the Illuminati of the ages have known that the will to command the obedient supreme presence rises up after obedience to the will of the supreme presence. If a person avoids regarding themselves as king of the universe, it is because they lack courage to recover their titles thereto, wrote one of the Illuminati, after having been by meekness dissolved into the recognition of the majesty of the commanding supreme, and felt its quickening stir as likeness triumphant in their own breast. The law is plain enough. If that nature before which we have been negative, soft, meek, plastic, draws forth and stirs alive in us its own kind, it is not surprising that the meekest and lowliest of all people rose up with the bold proclamation, all power is given unto me. I have overcome the world. It is not surprising that its disciple, catching his assurance, found that satanic tempers fled at the sound of their bold commands, and the willing angel of the miracle stood by them to save them from prisons and swords. Tell ye, the daughter of Zion, behold, kingship cornereth in meekness. This is Zacharias agreeing with Jesus across the gulf of centuries. The mystic law is one, and its way is one, as mathematics is one. Does the relation of the hypotenuse to its base and perpendicular ever alter? Pythagoras sacrificed 100 oxen of rejoicing when he discovered that eternal relationship of the hypotenuse. Jesus gladly sacrificed himself to call attention of humanity to the root of divinity and the spark of identical substance with the unconditioned absolute inherent in them each and all. Job saying that the root of the matter was in him had not sufficed to call the attention of people to their own absoluteness. The prophet's assurance that he hath made one of one blood, or one root and stock, all of the nations, had not given the serf and bondwoman inkling enough of their right to dominion over the mysterious servanthood standing up in the universe. As in mathematics, the time came in with Pythagoras for knowing that the root of the sum of squares of base and perpendicular was forever the diagonal, and so in with Jesus came the time for showing the root of divine authority, bone of bone, in people forever, in their relationship to the supreme good will occupying omnipresence. Thus saith the Holy One of Israel and its Maker, his Maker, concerning the work of my hands, command ye me. Isaiah 45. Therefore, after this manner pray ye, give me this day my supersubstantial bread, bread from my eternally innate authority with the God that standeth in the congregation of the universe. When St. Martin tells us that it is a lack of courage that keeps us from acting in kingship, he does not tell us how to rouse that courage. When Jeremiah was shown that it was a sign of arrested development to tarry as a cringeling in the face of the waiting goodwill, he did not understand that he was to instruct all the Jews in rousing their courage to speak as lords of the obedient God. He heard it as for himself only. Say not, I am a child. See, I have set thee over the nation and over the kingdoms, to throw down, to build, and to plant. But Jesus, the bloom in the garden of humanity, rising up out of authority breeding lowliness, said, speak like masters to the responsive stately God of Lazarus, to the stately responsive God of the person with the infinite arm, to the stately responsive God of the mountain, to the obedient responsive of the sycamine tree. After this manner speak ye, thy kingdom come, thine is the kingdom forever. Stretch forth thine hand, make straight the path. His God did not over-discipline humanity. His God awaited humanity's bold insistence. Make straight my path. This is the rise of the hidden person of Job, of Joshua, of Jacob, the great triumphant of Jays on the commanding heights of courage to command the willing omnipotence, ever whispering to all humanity concerning the work of my hands, command ye me. Did not Job hear the supreme authority in heaven and earth speaking with sternness? I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. Over and over, till the intone of it smote his root of divinity, and he turned with the same address. I will demand of thee, and thou answer thou me. And is it not recorded that the Lord was pleased with Job? Was it not the Lord fronting him through the sun and moon that Joshua spoke with bold commanding? Sun, stand thou still upon Gideon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. So the sun stood still in the midst of the heaven and hastened not to go down about a whole day, and there was no day like that before it or after it. When Joshua spake unto the Lord with the rise of his inborn root of authority, spake he to the willing obedience, facing him as the omnipotent one. And did not Jacob wrestle to give his hidden boldness dominion? I will not let thee go except thou bless me. And the yielding angel of victory did vouchsafe the blessing. I have seen God face to face, said the transmuted Jacob. I was afraid, but fear had no annulling strength against my vision of God. Napoleon Bonaparte was docile and promptly obedient to his superior officers, watchful of their genius at commanding, till his latent generalship stirred, and he turned on them all head of the army of France. Hannibal was from infancy meek and plastic before Hamilcar, general-in-chief of the Carthaginian army. Every hate and every love of Hamilcar stood forth in Hannibal at its proper moment. Is it surprising that at 28 he is the head of the Carthaginian army like his father? How docile was Joan of Arc to the wills of the angels with whom she had conversed all her life, dauntlessly repeating their directions to the awestruck generals and soldiers and statesmen of France, till she, at the age of 16, was tête d'armée. I don't know. I guess that means the high up in the military. Tête d'armée. There are words that I have only read and never actually heard. That was one of them. Okay. What I don't have in professionalism, I make up with in passion. Ugh. She's using really strange examples. I would not have thought to use Napoleon Bonaparte as an example, but here we are. Hannibal I get. Joan of Arc I get. Although she did point out that he was really good until he wasn't with Napoleon. I guess when his ego got in the way is when he failed, is what she said. We must choose well the object before which our inner eye oftenest pauses. For if the object has not commanding boldness, resistless authority as its savor, then the moment of identification transpires, neither will there then be any commanding boldness, resistless authority rising up out of its sleeping place in us. Gather a hint from the slow rising Moses, docile, teachable, tractable before the tutors of Princess of Heliopolis, at a time when the tutors and the priests of Heliopolis were famed for their learning and manners. Is it not written in secular history that Moses was also famed for his learning and manners? But at 40 years of age, he fled like a cringing Jacob at the threats of 2 Israelites. No confidence to command and be obeyed, had leapt like a fountain of fire out from its slumbering pit in him. How could it, if the tutors to whom he had been religiously attentive had never waked their own fearless dominion? Can a stream rise higher than its source? That's a good question. Now, as an exile among the mountains of Midian, he had spent 40 years humbling himself before the high deliverer, the noble counselor, the almighty champion. And though he is 80 years of age, 2 million Israelites obey his lightest word of command. Notice the mathematical increase. Afraid of 2, dominant over 2 million. The Lord of Lords and ruler in the heavens and on earth sends him forth, lawgiver, governor, mighty champion, high deliverer like himself. He sends him forth with youth in his guise, the stamp of fadelessness on his body. Here, eyes do regard you in eternity's stillness. Choose well. Your choice is brief and yet endless. Let the Lord be thy confidence. He will not suffer thy feet to be taken. This is the principle of attention to the highest Lord, to the point of rising above prisons and lion's jaw. This is the principle of making them of no effect. The lordship that causes the iron gates to open of their own accord, that rolls away the stones from the pathways, must hail from above the three dimensions. Joan of Arc was left to be burnt at the stake at 20 years of age because her vision had not sought higher than the faces of the flying messengers. Ooh, that seems a little bit like victim blaming. That was corrupt religiousness that got her burnt at the stake. Okay, I'll just give him a pass there. Napoleon had in command exiles at 47. Napoleon had in common exile at 47 because he had never set his vision higher than emperors' faces and heads of armies for its snatches of quickening dominion. Hannibal is in durance at 60 for the same reason, but Jacob and Elisha and Paul finished their course with the words of light still on their lips and the crown of the conqueror still shining on their heads. And the kings that shall arise after them shall be lords even over the Sabbath, or the stopping place of death. There is no Sabbath keeping in the temple, whispered the rabbis. The Lord of the temple is Lord. He says to the obedient executive standing still and tall in the flourishing fig tree of fever or dying, it is finished. And nothing can resist the Lord's command to the eternally present obedient God. The rise of boldness, authority, is the rise of inborn superiority to surrounding conditions. There's a word. No, that's a phrase. The rise of boldness, authority, is the rise of inborn superiority to surrounding conditions. It is wresting the tongue from outward descriptions to conform to heavenly fact. Authoritative speech brushes aside the cobwebs of outward appearance. It is backed by the mastery of the conquering kingdom of the inmost actual. When Solomon said, "The opening of my lips shall be right things," he meant that he would speak forth from the hidden person as free spirit that knows nothing of defeat or poverty or sickness. By this speech, he would lift his head above conditions. At a certain moment, the hidden person of the heart, gifted with dominion, leaps like lightning to expose its magical independence of the length, breadth, and thickness of matter, mind, sensation, and their world maneuvers. Does Habakkuk say that he yields to grief when the fig trees blossom no longer in Judah? Although the fig trees shall not give blossom, the labor of the olives shall fail, yet will I speak rejoicings. My feet shall walk on high places. Let the chief's singers chant with me. It is the failure to stand by the things of the Almighty Spirit, to the leap of authority that accounts for the seemingly unmanageable misfortunes of aspiring people in all ages. They have supposed in unguarded moments that the yielding they must make was to the overbearing three dimensions of misfortune, old age, and dying. Let us heed the voice of inspiration, that yielding which the children of earth are dimly tending to make is not to the three dimensions, but to the God law that works above them. Although now, apparently by my past downward viewing, I have walled myself into feebleness, sickness, defeat, yet, speaking boldly from my bright secret self, I'm sorry. I think I forgot to take my medication before I came to do this. Oh. Oh. My apologies. I do believe I forgot to take my medication before I came to do this, so my throat is drying out. I'm okay. All right. Although now, apparently by my past and downward viewing, I have walled myself into feebleness, sickness, defeat, yet, speaking boldly from my bright secret self, I am strength itself. I am flawless confidence. I am master of the willing God of my universe. This is the opening of the lips with right things, and all the divine forces stand ready to minister to my leaping word. As the young eagle presses his leathery joints against the crackling she, all nature waiting in mute sympathy, expecting to be governed by his newborn demands, so the still God of the universe waits to move through all visible and invisible items to minister in willing docility to my undiverted high confidence. Although the flocks shall be cut off from the fold, and there shall be no herd in the stalls, yet will I joy in the God of my salvation. Still forever we hear the voice of the poverty-surrounded Hubaku singing through the night watches, our steadfast example through the ages. The meekness of the mind, the will, the heart, opening to the healing good, is moving aside for such a lordship not of the flesh to act. Watch, therefore, for ye know not what hour your lordship rises. As when by drastic lift of pent volcanic fires the dripping form of a new island springs to meet the airs, so from our deeps we rise. Now will I rise, saith the Lord. Now will I lift myself up. At the lifting up of thyself the nations were scattered. It is the rise of the divine will to see when the blind beggar throws aside his ragged garments and runs to the waiting Jesus. It is the rise of its pent-up fragrance when the tightly closed petals of the rose fall back and the hidden splendors of color and perfume face the sun uncramped forever. Dost thou ask what Christianity is? Said the Mohammedan Sufi, forgetful of creed and country. I shall tell it thee. It digs up thine own ego and carries it up to God. It is the rise of the divine ego that makes a person victoriously bold. Come boldly unto the throne, said Paul. Boldness, bathe genius, power, and magic in it. What you can do or dream you can, begin it. Therefore be bold. Persist like Jacob. Though my low views have sent me loss of friends, pain, humiliation, Yet truly I am strong, child of God, with dominion in all my vital sap. I am at my roots greater than my environments and the shadows of hardship with which by turning from the highest I have darkened my path. An omnipotence stands before me and behind me, at my right and at my left, above me and below me, to serve my rising commandings, as he himself bade voices by priests and prophets and the young eagles springing. So, we are to look upon the person who threw aside the wrappings of the grave and the stone-sealed tomb and soldiers' swords, bursting their three-dimensional bindings with risen divinity as the law for the whole of us, world without end. After this commanding manner speak ye, let me not turn aside from facing thee. Deliver thou me from evil. Thou art empowering obedience. I owe thee bold command, O thou owner of all the kingdoms. There is a noble triumvirate of us on the self-authorized rock of conquering confidence. David, Daniel, Darius. Show me a token for good, that they which hate me may see it. Let my Lord speak, for thou hast strengthened me. Thy God, whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. They show how at the first uprisings of this confidence, this bold certainty, the God in the universe serves promptly. The symbol of this uprising is the emerald stone, the stone significant of walking free from common law, unified with the miraculous, where he that would hinder thee cannot discover thee. This is the science of high visioning, of looking unto the vast, vast countenance with healing of our tardy recognition of our own inborn kingship of as its fourth gift. Is not faith the gift of God according to scriptural instruction? Is not faith the confidence of things chosen according to the same high information? And does not masterfulness rise with confidence? And are we not told to have the faith which is the masterfulness of God itself? Have the faith of God, said Jesus. Thou hast a strength of empire fixed. The exaltation of lifting up the vision is fear of the Lord. Past the time of your sojourning here in fear, preached Peter. It is written that the fear of the Lord is the instruction in wisdom. It is written that it is the beginning of wisdom, or light. If thine eyes seek the Lord only, thy whole body shall be full of wisdom. If thine eyes seek the Lord only, it will fulfill thy desire. If thine eyes seek the Lord only, it will be thy strong confidence. If thy eye choose the high deliverer, thy dominion shall rise up. Thus have the inspired among people written in their own risen moments, always showing by their instructions that their risen kingship stirred forth from the bed of lowly-heartedness, and always lowly-heartedness before supreme majesty. How else should kingship rise with its scepter? To this person will I look, even to them that trembleth at my word, saith the supreme Lord. Jeremiah trembled at the sight of the danger streak in the Jews' sum total of character. The wicked and the foolish trait deplored by all the Jewish wise people had glued Jeremiah's unmitigated attention. Out of the molten depths of his anguish, he forged the prophecy of doom in which that trait would lawfully ultimate. It has taken centuries on centuries for the Jews to labor out from under the black bar of Jeremiah's decree. Your inheritance shall be turned to strangers. God is wroth against you, O people of Zion. Jeremiah sometimes forgot the sin streak of the Jews, and looking above them, saw them above themselves for seconds of time as the high God saw them. I have no idea what she's talking about right now. What? Again, that sounds a little like victim blaming, so I'm not sure where she's going here. Note that Jeremiah prophesied coming greatness and glory while his vision was towards the high and lofty, one that inhabiteth eternity, who cannot itself look upon evil. Seeing sometimes as God sees, he sensed the liberation of the Jews from the stream of their forefathers' sins, but never long enough to sense their right to their present victorious childship of their heavenly spirit. Yeah, okay. So really, honestly, that's exactly what it sounds like. I'm not sure if she's victim blaming or Jeremiah's victim blaming. Basically, what she's saying is occasionally Jeremiah would sense the higher. It's like, okay, this is what the people could be, but he couldn't keep his vision that high all the time. And so what she's saying is that's what we've got to do. It's like we've got to keep our vision up there all the time and not get caught up in the nonsense going on now. That's what it sounds like she's saying. I could be wrong, but, so I think Jeremiah is victim blaming. Okay. Jesus, the star out of Jacob, bright with the morning of liberation, told them that no person upon the earth is their father. Only was forever the Father of all, even God. He dipped his speech in the truth of high birth and victorious life. Neither has this person sinned, nor their parents. The flesh profiteth nothing, and they shall see its face, and there shall be no night. Go ye and make disciples of all nations. He taught that he that is steadfast unto the day of believing, commanding confidence, faith shall be saved from the law of cause and effect, the karma of past vision and thought. Okay. For though foxes have holes of resting, and birds of the air have places for their paws, the risen soul belongeth not to their order. There is no set outcome to the vision towards the infinite. Though envy is rottenness of the bones, the loss of envy has no stopping place of freedom. Before the child of buoyancy, the doors are all open. Though the hypocrite's hope shall perish forever in some particular disappointment, the loss of hypocrisy has no limit to its good and perfect gifts from above. The great aphorisms of people wrought out from looking away from the highest cease from being true, but the high truths that belong to the vision above the aphorisms of downward visioning cannot cease. All the aphorisms of people are like unto no royal road to learning, but according to the lore and law of divine mysticism, the road to the learning that falls on the face of the upward watcher is royal. The upward watcher knows things which before they knew not, and which neither teachers nor books have mentioned. Oh, that was a whole lot of look up, not down. Seriously, that was a whole lot of look up, not down. What looks down will pass. What looks up will not. Ugh. She gets a little poetic, and when she gets a little poetic, she gets a little weird. We're almost done, though, thank goodness. Although, frankly, I think this has been a slightly easier chapter than the earlier ones, but still, this is high mysticism. It's weird. And if you think it's weird, you're not alone. But that's why we're doing this. The downward watcher wades through seas of trouble and is chided for not having faith. How can they have faith, the substance of things hoped for, when it is the fourth smite from above, reaching down over their own isolated vision to the roots of their own being and rousing their own untaught spark of authority over an undescribable almighty executive? When the spark of faith, like lightning for splendor, spoke from the masterful lips of the unkillable Redeemer, the quickening mystery back of the tomb, and the soldiers' swords flung them all aside, for his feet were free to go. No, so his free feet to go to Galilee, where the eyes of the 500 might see him alive and not dead. Let us write it with a pen of light dipped in the fountain of everlasting truth, that we have found a new servant, the able to do all things. Is there anything too hard for me, he saith? Before the day was I am he, and there is none that can deliver out of my hand. Concerning the work of my hands, command ye me. Kings exercise lordship, said Jesus. How shall one be king except their kingship be roused? And true kingship, one ray of which is as strong as the decree of Darius concerning the lions, comes from above. By me kings reign, saith the great voice that John turned to see. If lions do not stand back, and warring does not cease, and diseases do not retire, the true kingship is not among us. Only its crude symbol, working through the heavy machinery of army and navy and jailer and hospital, faces us. Then the disciples asked him to increase their faith, but he answered them nothing. For faith, which is kingship exercising to call the God of Lazarus to come forth, and the God of the withered arm to appear, is the deepest secret of all the deep secrets of the Magi, Jesus Christ. Seeing then that after speaking with commanding earnestness to unassailable majesty, he made insanity and poverty drop their grip, they said, Lord, teach us also to pray. So he taught them to speak firmly and sternly to the great servant. He that is greatest among you, let him be your servant. He that is greatest among us through all eternity is the Lord strong and mighty. None other is greatest. Your brains do not make your inborn self greater than self of your serf. Your money cannot make you greater than the pauper, for God is no respecter of persons. And he surely hath made of one blood all the nations. Only one among us is greatest. Our spirit is that, with name unspeakable on the lips of the downward watcher. Its kingdom is ready to show us its finished presence. It is the will to command and the will to obey, identical with the inborn root of obedience and authority inherent in humanity, the highest God and inmost God being one God. It feeds with supersubstantial bread all who rise up like Marcella to demand it. It rouses the payment of death. It arouses the payment of the debt of confidence to command, owing unto it since ever the world caught us in its wheel. It delivers us at our bold command. It prevents our speech when it chooses the path of disease and description of all evil. And this is its way and its glory, though you believe it not, and take not hold of the key of this kingdom. It shall feed thee on the heights of confidence, prophesied the exiled Ezekiel, riding by the banks of the Charbar. The speech of the Lord's formula being understood as the word of command acts like nutriment to the hidden Jehovah nature. It is that feeding on strength which Micah was exalted to foreknow. Humanity shall feed on the strength of the Lord. It is the end of that feeding on descriptions of goodness and badness, poverty and riches, and pairs of opposites, which Solomon noted as the foolishness that only fools feed upon. As the savage can be taught mathematics and become proficient therein centuries before they could evolve mathematics by themselves, so are we taught the obedience of the goodwill fronting us by the gold formula of the prayer of our Lordship long before we could have formulated it. I know that his commandment, or the commandment of him, is life everlasting, said the Messiah. Thou, through thy commandments, hast made me wiser than mine enemies, cried the glad psalmist. For when I demanded that thou bow down thine ear to me to deliver me speedily and be my strong rock, then thy gentleness made me great. This is the whole duty of humanity, said Solomon in one of his moments of speaking above his mind. Fear God and keep his commandments. God manifests his word according to the commandment of God, wrote John the Lover. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes, wrote one who had touched kingship by watching towards the high I am who makes kings. At the waters of Lourdes, some patients were taught to repeat the great formula of the hidden Lord in humanity, called the Lord's Prayer, 15 times while the curing waters were being tasted. Has anybody explained to them that the waters of tribulation begin to subside for them who touches the 15th cubit above them? Has anybody explained that Paracelsus, the miraculous healer of Zurich, caught all his flashes of genius from much repetition of the 7 stately commandments of Matthew's Lord's Prayer, or the prayer of our own Lordship? Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Give us this day my super substantial bread. Forgive my debt of confidence to command thee. Let me not into temptation, deliver me from evil. Who is not glad to utter these words of insistence, that they may also be healed of their cringing to old age and death, disease, and poverty? The 4th angel, being caused to fly swiftly, smiteth all of them of the mystic formula. They are those that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus, as John on Patmos foresaw. The 4th angel is the bright angel smiting Jacob, smiting Peter, smiting Job on the left hand where he doth work. Look unto him of power to establish, according to the mystery which was kept secret since the world began, but now is made manifest, according to the commandment of the everlasting God, for the obedience unto faith, as did Paul, writing to the Romans with the pen of that same victorious confidence, even to the quickening of the dead Eutychus. Faith is humanity's El Shaddai, its risen recognition of itself as Jehovah's soul, seeing the mystery of the divine obedience everywhere, waiting the kingly rise of their heaven-planted boldness to command. I will not let thee go except thou bless me. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. A shape looked up from eating herb and grain. It chanced to see the stars, and with that look came wonderment, and longing in its tray. The food untasted lay, a beating pain smote at its forehead. But it looked again, and yet again, and then it thought, lo, man stood upright as the stars did wane. And that's how it ends. And that's how it ends. That was a weird one. I got it. There was a lot in there where she was giving us contrasting examples. Where she was saying, look, these people did really well until they stopped looking higher. So as you go on, the higher you look, the higher you'll go. The higher you look, the higher you'll go. The minute you cast your eyes downwards, the minute you look down into the conditions, you're going to be caught by the conditions. If you don't want to be caught by the conditions, you have to look above the conditions. Faith. It's not easy, but it's also not hard. And therein lies the contradiction. So next Saturday, we'll do chapter 5, Works. And hopefully I'll remember to take my medication and won't have a coughing fit in the middle of it, which I'm probably going to leave in because, hey, I'm human having an experience. Just know that I didn't die. All right, beloveds. Well, that was chapter 4, Faith, of EMMA CURTIS HOPKINS. Mysticism. Reverend David will probably be on soon because it is 5 o'clock, so I need to wrap this up and get off so he can get on. And I'll be back tomorrow morning to do a little bit more of the appendix of A New Design for Life. All right, beloveds. Take care of yourself. Know that you are loved, and I will see you next time.